G'day mates, Nilos here, and last time we had some R&R. Then we had to deal with the literal demon spawn of Pazuzu asking Jared and I to go to a tea ceremony the day after the tournament. And today is the day of the tournaments. Let us proceed. I stepped out into the fresh spring air, taking a deep breath. My event was one of the first, so I had to be there earlier than most. I set my shoulders and started across campus. The arcade at which the tournament was being held was much smaller than I expected. I felt like I'd find some kind of convention, but instead it was a small local arcade filled with machines, small rooms split off, which were probably where the individual competitions would take place throughout the day. A few people milled about the space, generally older folk in their 20s and 30s. I glanced at the agenda in my hand and made my way into one of the back rooms. When I entered the competition room, I found two chairs on an elevated platform, a computer and projectors sitting between them and hooked up to separate controllers. Ian sat in one of the chairs, looking bored out of his mind.
Good morning.
Ian!
Hey.
It's about time you showed up. I was starting to get worried that you died. Sweet of you be concerned. Is it? Yeah. Dot. I got into the chair next to him. A man came over to check my name and club affiliation. I saw I was a member of Norwood's Club, a small surge of pride, making me sit up straight as I did. There were chairs lined up for people to watch us compete, and to my surprise, the entire room soon filled. I searched the crowd to find the guys. There they were! Everyone but Jared and Paul. Ugh, damn it. Where were they? As I stared wordly into the crowd, a blur of movement caught my eye. Jimmy was sitting in a chair on the edge with the rest of the Hidden Block Club, beaming at me. When he saw me looking, he raised his eyebrows. He unrolled his eyes.
Really?
Would it kill you to root for your own teammate? I giggled. It was hilarious. Finally, the lights around us dimmed and the projector started up, showing the main menu of WWE's Revenge on screen. It was time to start. As the MC began his introduction and explained the rules of the game, Ian turned to me. A smirk on his face. Sure you're ready for this?
Yeah.
You bet I am. Ready to go? The man turned to us. Ian and I nodded. Then, 3, 2, 1, start. Sorry, Clint invaded this game. The game began. I immediately clicked to fill my screen with 2 more lines of blocks. Ian began working with what he had. I scanned the blocks for the pink cards, slowing them one by one, making combos where I could. I still was advanced enough playing tons of combos at a time, but I couldn't make it much more looking for combos happening through probability. The pinks were all but gone. Green leaves are next. Dumb dudes started flipping at the top of the screen. Ian must be comboing, which meant I had a few seconds before those blocks would fall. I set up a combo on top of the screen and started eliminating the orange blocks below it. Then it happened. A 6 combo jumped out at me from on the screen. My eyes crossed as I stared at it in shock. I just had to move the top block over one space. Then, as quick as I saw it, it vanished. The blocks looked normal again. You're dead! As Ian's blocks fell upon my humble kingdom, I slid the combo into place. 2, 3, 4 combo, 5 combo, 6 combo, 7 combo, 8 combo. Ian's attack converted into blocks and hovered above mine. I set up several more combos and waited for him to fall. 10 combo, legendary! Some dudes started running out rainbows over Ian's zone. And then... blocks. So many blocks. They didn't come in a chunk, they came in a torrential downpour. All over Ian's side, starting from his left to right, then back again. Ian blinked, his hands and eyes moving frankly over the screen. I wasn't sure he had even ever seen something like that before. I sure had. I couldn't see the combo while this was happening, but at this point there was no need. Ian's screen folded up. He kept trying to make combos until the very end, but... ta-da! Game over! That was it. I won. I stared, dumbfounded, at the screen in front of me. Ian's mouth hung open. The room was silent. Then... yeah, Hannah!
Aw, yeah!
I knew you could do it! I glanced up to see the room applauding. All of it, even the Hidden Block Club. The announcer was gaping at the screen. I've never seen a score that high. Certain I was Rise of Tomato, I started to climb down off the platform. Not so fast. Ian stepped in front of me, grim as always. I braced myself for his infamous sarcasm. But to my surprise, he laughed.
Hana.
That was a hell of a game, Hana. That's exactly what I wanted from you. He held a hand in the air. I looked at it in confusion. Don't leave me hanging.
Yeah.
Oh! I high-fived him and he clasped my hand in his. Thanks, Hana. That was fun. Then he disappeared into the pressing crowd. I wheeled my way through all of the people, eager to find Jared. I looked for his head above the rest of the crowd, but I couldn't see him anywhere.
Hey!
Hana, there you are. Ready to get your groove on? He wailed in front of me, stomach wriggling like a worm. What? Have you seen Jared? Actually, I saw him talking with Paul out front. He seemed upset. Is everything okay? I left Ollie where he stood, sprinting for the front door. Let's leave Ollie behind, that's right. I dash outside the arcade, searching frankly along the strip in front of it. A flash of green caught my eye and I sprinted towards it. I jammed myself between Jared and Paul, arms outstretched. You have no reason to be mean to him. He's here for a tournament. He's one of us. By now you should have. My hand settled on my shoulder and I turned. Hana, you don't need to worry. Paul was just apologizing. I looked at Jared in confusion and whirled back to face Paul, who smiled sheepishly at me. You were? Kind of. Jared cleared his throat.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I was definitely apologizing. Sorry, man. I looked from Paul to Jared and back. Apologies don't generally take 20 minutes. Neither were there to see my event. Jared's eyes grew wide and he smacked himself in the forehead.
What?
Oh man, your event was first. I thought so. I'm sorry, Hana. I should have been there. We should have been there. Jared grimaced at Paul, who made a face back. Are either of you going to explain what's going on here? Paul shook his head with a sigh. Politics, Hana. How'd your event go?
Yay!
Oh yeah, I won! I started bouncing up and down, pulling on Jared's hand. Repeat. Can you believe that? I won! I never thought I'd win.
Nice.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Hana.
Yeah.
Congratulations, I'm truly glad to hear that. I beamed it to both of them. Jared patted the top of my bow and I grabbed his hand to hold it. Did instead. Paul cleared his throat. Jared, your competition's up soon, isn't it? Yeah, it'll be starting in a few minutes.
Alright.
I wish you luck then. Paul headed back into the arcade, presumably to give us some privacy. Jared smiled down at me. Ready to see some mad skills? I'm more than ready. We headed inside. Jared pulled me through the crowd into a small room at the back. Waleed, fabulous as he, stood in front of a large projector screen and a console, being scanned by some object. His figure appeared on a projector in front of us, mirroring his movements with only a slight lag. I moved to the edge of the room as Jared joined Waleed out on the dance floor.
Hey!
Ready to get your butt kicked, Jared? By the meme master? Get real. You never seen moves like I've got. We'll see about that. As the tournament staff finished setting up, the room filled with more and more people. Soon it became ridiculously hot and incredibly crowded, and I was shunted into a corner. It was only through sheer audacity that I managed to maintain a window. Several middle-aged women came and stood next to me, ruling large cutouts of Jared's face. Apparently, his popularity extended beyond Asagao. Jared stared. Are the gasps done? Okay, they're done. Jared stretched in front of the projector, his every move causing small gasps from the crowd. Alright, we're about ready. Would Waleed of the Hidden Block Club please take the stage first? Of course I will. Jared stepped off the stage and Waleed took his turn under the lights. The song selection has been decided pre-match by the tournament staff. It's a karaoke version of Pacific Drive. At his words, Jared's face lit up. Waleed turned pale. This wouldn't be the same Pacific Drive by the super famous, popular, incredibly talented idol Gorlub, would it? That's the one. Perfect. I frowned. Wally was acting like he just received a death sentence, but this song shouldn't be different from any other. He held up a hand to the console and drew it to the right, starting the song. As the music started, my eyes widened. Hadn't I heard this somewhere before? Jared caught my eyes from across the floor and grinned. I had. It was Jared's modeling music. Here goes nothing. To my enormous surprise, a large portion of the audience started cheering. No, not just cheering. Hyperventilating. They were nondescript girls, probably teenagers, and they weren't holding any hidden Block and Armor Boots fan gear. But the way they were cheering, it was as if they were seeing their favorite celebrity in the flesh for the first time. Waleed started moving to the music, and I was taken aback. Hey, he doesn't even have his book. Probably an odd thing to have during a dance. He was surprisingly agile and even more surprisingly precise. His movements looked as though not only had this specific routine been practiced dozens of times, but he had had help from an actual dance teacher. Was that even fair? I glanced across the floor to Jared, who was watching my face with a slightly peeved expression. He looked at Waleed and turned his head with a huff, as if saying Waleed was nothing compared to him. I smirked. Jealous, were we? But then something strange happened. Rather than follow the choreography of the song, Waleed started doing different moves. The girls in the back of the room screamed even louder, but his score was going down. Waleed, what are you doing? Jimmy screamed at him from across the room, practically having a conniption. Waleed suddenly realized his mistake, but it was too late. His score had taken a huge hit. You've got to be kidding me. The song finally ended, and Waleed's score was told 860,400. He had taken a 140,000 hits. And the next song, next is the contestant, Jared from the Norwoods Club. Waleed jogged off the stage as Jared, arms held high like a gladiator in the arena, stepped on stage. The crowd gathered and screamed so loud, I actually saw my vision shudder. Thank you all, my lovely fans, for coming to see me. Each and every one of you is near and dear to my heart. He blew a kiss at the crowd and winked, then turned to look at me. He kissed his fingers and held them out as if pressing them against my lips. Even though I stood on the opposite side of the room, I flushed and he turned to face the machine, moving his hand to the right. But as the music started to play, I noticed something odd in the way Jared was facing the screen. He didn't look like he usually did when he was focused, not like he did when he was practicing studying or writing new D&D campaign scenarios. His gaze was less sharp, and he seemed more focused on what was around him than the actual screen. Oh no. His walls were up. He was more focused on putting on a good performance than on winning. As the dance started, Jared swirled and spun, moving his hips with passionate fervor. As the crowd screamed and swooned, I watched his score. It was moving slowly upwards, but not as fast as Waleed's had. Waleed, watching on the side, seemed to realize this. A small grin spread across his face. No! No! What did I do? Jared's movements weren't as precise. He was having a hard time controlling them in his effort to wow the crowd. He was nearly to the midpoint of the song. I had to do something. Then an idea struck me. Excuse me! I dove through the crowd, pushing and shoving without giving a single care who I hit or whether I was being rude. Just aside of the room I found Paul, anxiously trying to get a glimpse of Jared.
What's up?
Hana, what's wrong? Come with me, please! I grabbed his hand without waiting for a reply and pulled him into the room, shoving back through the crowd. This time, they saw me coming and quickly moved out of the way. You didn't really make up with Jared, did you? Well, if he's really your friend, cheer him on. Please snap him out of it.
Seriously?
You're the only one who can do it. What are you talking about? Snap him out of what? Just do it! I pushed him to the front of the crowd, where Paul stood in a confused daze. In slow motion, his hands raised to cup his mouth. Jared! I'm here for you no matter what! So, please continue! Great reference. Jared faltered in the middle of one of his moves, shooting a quick look at Paul. Paul gave him a thumbs up, and Jared's face softened. Jared, the game! He turned to the screen, a familiar steely glint in his eye. Jared was back, baby. The crowd exclaimed as suddenly Jared's movements became precise and intricate. He mimicked the movements on screen as if he were a robot, replicating them with such precision that I almost felt like I was watching a pre-recorded video. His score suddenly doubled his rising speed, slowly tipping over 650,000, 700,000. Sarah struck a finish pose and the song faded from the room. Paul and I watched breathlessly as the game tallied his final score. Slowly the numbers trickled on the screen. 890,600 points!
Yay!
Jared, you did it! My screams were lost in the cheers of the crowd. Jared raised his arms up and sprinted across the edge of the stage, finally reaching Paul and I. He fist bumped Paul and pulled him into a quick bro hug. Then he turned to me. Thank you, Hana. He pulled me into a bear hug, and this time I was too happy to pull away. We spent our time wandering around the arcade and playing random games after that. Jared showed me a bunch of weird games I never would have played had he not pointed them out, talking about how they were integral to his childhood. As the rest of the guys shifted in and out of their events, successes and failures intermingled. It wasn't until the MC took the stage that we discovered who won. The winner of the 2015 Southwest Tournament is... The Normal Boots Club! Yes! I screamed and clapped, and we swarmed on stage. The poor MC didn't know what hit him. As we celebrated on stage, Paul grabbed the microphone.
Alright.
I would like to take this moment to thank the fans, our families, but most of all... Paul turned to Jared. Our friends. To thank our friends for sticking with us and seeing the best in us, even when we make terrible asses of ourselves. Jared laughed and clapped Paul in the back, then pointed at me. Oh, right. We also have an announcement to make. As of today, we officially have a new addition to the Normal Boots Club. Please welcome Hana Mizuno. Jared went to the end of the stage and pulled out Normal Boots' jacket exactly my size. He hung it around my shoulders, gently pushing me to the front of the stage.
Yeah!
Congratulations, Hana. He smiled at me and stepped away. Paul handed me the microphone, and for the first time I had a spotlight of my own. Thank you all so much. I'll do my very best, I promise. Not knowing what else to do, I bowed deeply, deep enough that my hair tickled the floor. PBG pulled me up and pointed into the crowd. There, an excited Mai jumped up and down, waving at us. I beamed back at her.
Yeah.
I did it, Mai. My voice boomed across the room, and I realized I still had the microphone in my hand. Really embarrassed, I handed it back to Paul. It's fine. Eventually we had to get off the stage, and when we did, I waded through the crowd to get to Mai. Since she saw me, she tackled me nearly to the ground. I knew you could do it! Thank you, Mai.
Yeah.
We have to do something to celebrate. You, PBG, Jared, and I should go see a movie or something. That new Star Wars is out, and I heard it's really good. Yeah, we should. A hand placed itself on my shoulder, and I turned to see Jared shaking his head sadly. As much as I'd love to go, Han and I have something to attend to. I met his eyes, and I remembered. Right, we had to practice for the ceremony. I haven't seen you like it all this week. I was really looking forward to it. I'm sorry, Mai, but it's really important. I'll explain everything to you once it's over. I frowned. Fine. Should still go with PBG, though. I'm sure he'd enjoy that. Mai and Jared exchanged looks, like they passed a secret letter between them. Mai smirked. If you say so. She disappeared into the crowd, heading in the direction of the messy, brown mop of hair sticking out above the rest. That's sounded like PBG. Sorry, Hana. No, it's okay. It's important. We can celebrate later, right? Right, and I promise we will. I smiled and nodded. In that case, let's get practicing. Jared and I sat on the train, chugging slowly towards the city. I had my full yukata on. Jared told me he didn't believe his mom would leave a room for me to change in. Just another way to sabotage me. The filthy harlot. In my lap sat a small satchel, shaped like Satchel Drake's, the same one Mai had used when she kidnapped Jared and me and took us to the beach. My regular Asagao uniform was in there, along with my Normal Boots Club jacket. I didn't need it, but having it with me gave me a surge of pride and hope. If I could do that, I could do anything. There was nothing much we wanted to say to each other, nothing much we could say to each other. I knew what was going on in Jared's mind, a blind fury of panic, anxiety, and guilt. Throughout my lessons, he profusely apologized for having put me into the position where I had to do something like this. No matter how I tried to assure him that I didn't care, that it was worth it for him, he couldn't let it go. Anytime my eyes drooped or I yawned, if my stomach growled or my mind wandered, I saw the same look of guilt cross his face. Now he sat, chin in his hand, watching as the train slowly pulled into the station. I drew the rough fabric together in my fist. It was time to meet Jared's mother. When we stepped out of the station, Jared flagged down a taxi. We had to drive for a solid 30 minutes, through the city streets and then into something like the countryside. Slowly we rose into the mountains, before finally the taxi driver dropped us off at the beginning of a cobblestone path. Jared paid the tab without even blinking. I shook my head. What I could do with that money. What my father could do with that money. Bad way to think. Jared took my hand as we wandered down the path until finally he sighed. There it is. Home. That's a fancy place. An elegant Japanese-style building rose out of the forest, built in what looked like a natural clearing. The path led right up to the door, and Jared helped me up the steps, apologizing for forcing me to wear such a restrictive piece of clothing. You ready? I nodded, mouth suddenly dry. I was not ready. He pulled open the screen door and led me quietly into the room. Okay, Jared's mother. I'm assuming. There, waiting in front of a large open room, stood the woman who could only be Jared's mother. I mean, she's sparkling for God's sake. She smiled as she saw Jared walk in, but then she saw me. She glanced at my yukata and a smile slid off her face. I see you came prepared. I shouldn't have expected less from my Jared. It's nice to meet you. Hanamizuno, I hope. Spare me the pleasantries. I don't plan on maintaining your acquaintance. Her words stung, but I tried as hard as I could not to let it show. Despite everything I knew about Jared's mother, a small part of me had hoped that she would, somehow, for some reason, change her mind. Jared's face fell too, and I knew he had entertained the same hope. Well, since you're prepared, you won't mind giving a demonstration to our guests gathered here? She stretched an arm out behind her, and for the first time I saw a small crowd of older adults lining the walls in the back of the room. My heart thudded against my chest as I glanced across the faces. I knew these people. I'd seen these people in my mother's magazines, on cards that came with the pottery she bought. She'd called me into the room to show me her latest find, tell me how one day, if at all possible, she'd love to meet Mr. Satao or Miss Sakura. And now they stood in front of me, flesh and blood, exacting looks roaming up and down my person. I straightened, suddenly panicked. I heard Jared softly curse under his breath. You're running late! You've wasted their time! I do hope this'll make up for it! I looked fearfully at Jared, but he just shook his head. His mother had purposely given us the wrong time. There was nothing I could do. Jared walked to the back of the room and took a seat with the rest of the observers, and Jared's mother led me to the center of the room and the equipment that had set out in front of her. As I sat opposite from her, careful to first bow and show proper respect to her, I started to gain a bit of confidence. She might try to mess me up, but I had practiced. I was prepared. I pulled out the equipment that I'd be using, and my heart stopped. I tried very hard to maintain a calm and serene expression, and dared glance at Jared. He was pale as a sheet. The equipment sitting in front of me. Some of it looked familiar, but others looked like something I'd never seen before. Even the tea was different. Instead of the matcha I used with Jared, there were actual tea leaves. Huh. My hands started to sweat and to shake. I didn't know what I was supposed to do for the first step. I didn't understand. I practiced for hours every day. I knew what I was doing. I knew how to perform a basic open tame flawlessly, and yet Jared's mother expected me at another level, at some kind of master level. My hands fell into my lap. I hung my head. There was a rustling amongst the people watching. I dared glance at Jared's mother, feel for the anger I would find there. She wasn't angry. The bitch was smiling. I felt a gentle hand place itself on my back, and Jared was squatting next to me. Take my seat. Don't worry. I nodded, tears prickling my eyes. I failed. We failed. I stood and bowed and took Jared's place at the back of the room, not making eye contact with anyone. Jared resumed from where I left off, if you could call it that, serving the tea elegantly with a flawless poise, as if this was what he intended to happen all along. He showed his mother the proper respect, despite what she did to us. I wasn't sure whether I was proud of him or angry at him. Honestly, I'd be glad that he's just doing it. Because, Jesus, that was terrible. Finally, the ceremony ended. As the guests stood to mingle, Jared instantly came to my side. Come on, let's go change. He took me out of the room and over to a different area. My room's in there. Let me know when you're done. I nodded sadly, heading into the room, but he caught my arm. Hey. There's nothing you can do. I'd hoped she'd actually meant to give you a chance, but I should have known better. There was no way you could have prepared for what she threw at you. That was a special form of ceremony, a tradition found by the Nadeshiko family and only taught to our most loyal students and faithful supporters. There was no chance from the beginning. I wasn't sure whether what he said was supposed to make me feel better or worse, but I definitely felt worse. We're going to have dinner with her after the guests leave. Just try to be yourself. I'm sure she'll understand. He said that, but I could tell by the look on his face that he didn't believe it at all. I nodded and stepped into the room. The room was almost completely bare. There was a small cushioned mattress, presumably Jared's bed, and a few books and a single-tier shelf along the back wall. Other than that, nothing. I changed my clothes quickly. The room felt odd, almost hostile. I didn't feel comfortable there, not one bit. I emerged from the room, my yukata and jacket in my bag.
Jared, was that really your room?
Full of childhood memories, isn't it? I was too busy studying to have much fun. At least, that was what my mom told me when I complained.
Jared.
I stroked his face. How much had he suffered under his mother? He never seemed to want to talk about it or give me details, but if this was anything to go off of... Jared took my hand away from his face, rubbing the back with his thumb. Not here. I'm sorry. I didn't like this one bit. I wanted him to stop apologizing, wanted him to stop looking at me with that sorry expression. I want to get this dinner over with. You know, I would too, in this position. By the time we dared to enter the room again, Jared's mother was seated at a table. The guest had gone. It's about time you showed up! Jared frowned, but gently guided me into one of the two seats opposite his mother. He bowed politely and sat down, at which point she clapped her hands and a servant, a worker or a chef of some kind, brought in the food and scurried out. Damn! We picked up our chopsticks, but Jared waited as his mother picked food from the plate. I followed suit, watching her pick the best pieces of cooked beef, the juiciest looking vegetables for her plate. It wasn't a fancy meal. She clearly saw no point in pleasing us. When she finished, we served ourselves, and we quietly began to eat. I tried to be as polite as I could. Well, all the table manners my father and mother ever taught me ringing through my skull. There was no way I could match Jared or his mother. I hadn't expected anyone to exude more grace and flawlessness than Jared, but now that I saw his mother, I realized I was wrong. She was fluid, almost like a river, but for every calm, dance-like movement, I could sense the ferocity of a raging waterfall. She was absolutely immaculate, her makeup drawn on as if by a professional artist, her clothes wrinkle-free, looking almost like they were on a store mannequin. Not a single movement was wasted, not a single bit of effort expended that didn't have to be. She was exacting, she was ferocious, she was flawless. She was cold. I turned my eyes to my bowl. It had been 5 straight minutes and not a single sentence was spoken. I glanced at Jared and saw his lips pressed slightly together. I wonder whether he ever spoke to his mother first, or whether he was even allowed to. When Jared's mother broke the silence, I almost jumped, so harsh was the change. So I have an alcoholic for a son, do I? Jared swallowed hard, but he kept his eyes on his plate. Not only an alcoholic, but a delinquent, a bore, someone who skips class, and on top of that, doesn't fulfill his obligations. Someone who makes vast promises to the populace, but fails to deliver on them. Someone who begged and begged me for years to let him have a hobby, and when we finally set on a mutually beneficial agreement, someone who falls through on his biggest moment. Mutually beneficial? Was she talking about his modeling? Jared refused to speak, but I saw his eyes glaze over and his movements become robotic. He was withdrawing again. Now I understood where it came from. I told your good-for-nothing father that having a child would be unwise. But you know your father, ever ambitious, ever loving, ever over-promising, and here we are. I shouldn't have listened to him. What? I hate to break my habit of not saying this word ever, but she's a real fucking cunt. Jesus, my God, this is awful. I eyes grew wide, my mouth dry. I set my food down and took a drink of water. This was Jared's mother. This was who he grew up with, who he returned home to every day as a child. This is supposed to be his sanctuary from the threats of the outside world. I shook my head. What the fuck? Seriously. No, the outside world is probably his sanctuary from here. And you! Her gaze shifted to me, looking me in the eyes for the first time, and goosebumps ripple across my skin. Don't think I haven't heard of you. When I heard my darling Jared was dating someone, I looked into your history. What? You, a poverty-stricken girl, a motherless girl, a home wrecker, another delinquent. What? How did you know those things? How would she even begin to find them? That's not the point, is it? How did she know those things about me? I wanted to glance at Jared to see how he took what she was saying. I hadn't told him about my past, hadn't had a chance to explain what happened to me or why I came to Asagao. I kept those things myself, wanted to leave them in the past, but now, in the worst way... Don't think I don't see through you. What do you want? Money? Status? Fame? I'll make sure you don't get a single drop. I'll make sure you and your worthless father return to exactly where you came from. Certainly that's where you deserve to be. Jesus. Reminds me of Governor Grodd. Wait, what? Anyway, I wanted to speak up. I wanted to say something to her, but her very presence coated the room like fog. I didn't want to make it worse for Jared. Whatever happened here, I could go home and never see her again. Jared, though. Jared had to return here when vacation started. My anger and horror quickly turned to frustration, and frustration quickly turned to tears. Horrified, I tried to blink them back, but I only seemed to make it worse. As first tear trickled down my cheek, Jared's mom beamed. And now you're crying? My, what a fragile girl! Have you no redeeming qualities? Fuck off, bitch! Jesus. And Jared seems to agree with me. Jared slammed his chopsticks down on the table. His mother and I both jumped, turning to stare at him in utter shock. His mother looked as though he just slapped her across the face. I am sick of this. Jared Nobbenbauer, you listen to me. No, mother, you listen to me. I have put up with you for 17 straight, horribly awful, painful, joyless years of my life. I have begged and begged for you to grant me an ounce of happiness or sunshine every day, and rejected me in favor of your own selfish greed and pointless ambition, all intended to hide your pathetic sense of loneliness and abandonment. I have finally found someone who makes me happy, someone who showed me that I was still worth a damn even if I wasn't perfect, someone who showed me that everything you taught me throughout my life was wrong.
No.
And I will be damn straight to hell if you think I'm going to let you take her away from me. I stared at Jared in awe, sparks practically flying off him. His mother gaped at him like a dying fish. As he looked at her face, her anger seemed to fade slightly. His anger, excuse me. The way you want me to live is painful. It's claustrophobic. I'm sorry. I know what you want from me. I know what you've sacrificed to get me there. But I won't live like that anymore, no matter what you try to do. I'm not perfect, and neither are you. There's a strong chance Dad's family won't recognize you no matter what you do. You should just accept it. You'll be happier that way. He hesitated. His mother watched him like a wounded animal, scanning his every move for hidden motives. What should be most important is how we feel about ourselves, not how other people see us. That broke the spell. Jared's mother folded her arms on top of the table, resuming her flawlessly cold exterior. Get out of this house! Jared bit his lip and stood. I stumbled my feet after him. We bowed quickly to his mother before heading for the door. Why? She doesn't deserve bow. Whatever. Don't come back here until you understand how to behave properly. Do you understand me? Until then, you might as well not have a home. Jared opened the door and ushered me out, pausing before closing it. Goodbye, Mom. I love you. Oh, God. Then he shut the door with a slam.
Jared.
Jared. I tried to approach him, but instead he shook his head. leading me back up the trail to the road. He took my hand in his, and with the other pulled out his cell phone and called for a cab. When that was done, we walked in a steady silence.
Jared, I'm sorry.
Jared stopped walking. What are you sorry for?
I'm sorry that I messed up, and I'm sorry that your mother hates me, and I'm sorry that I never told you about my past. I'm sorry for everything.
Jared turned and pulled me into a hug. Please don't apologize, Hannah.
You're perfect.
You're worth it to me. Please don't let my mother get into your head. I looked into his eyes and nodded.
Okay. I won't.
He smiled and kissed me gently, ever so gently, on the forehead. Thank you, my Hannah. For everything. So we began the long trip back to Asagao. The drive up to the train station was long and slow. Traffic filled the streets as we were leaving at rush hour, and the driver filled the empty space with nervous chatter about his 5-year-old son, how proud he was that he got along well with the chickens. You know, the whole Jared's mother thing could have gone a lot worse, I think. I hope that it could have gone worse. No doubt he sensed leftover tension from our visit and was trying to dissipate it, but instead he was made things worse. English! Jared listened to the man's words and smiled a lopsided smile. I stared out the window, not sure what to make of anything. It wasn't until we were walking back to the dorms I remembered my Normal Boots club jacket. I took it out of my satchel and pulled it around my shoulders, smiling as it stilled my busy mind. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Right, Jared's mother might be something that he'd have to deal with. That we'd have to deal with at some point. But right now, our lives are at Asagao Academy. With the Normal Boots Club, with the Hidden Block Club. Jared's mother would come later. We could afford to shelve her for now. I opened my eyes and found Jared with his head in his hands. Worried, I pulled an arm around his shoulder.
Hey, Jar Jar. You okay?
He shook his head. Of course he's not okay with being called Jar Jar.
Don't worry. Everything will be alright, somehow.
How?
Well...
How? That's a good question.
No, not that. How can you ever forgive me after what I just put you through? Hana, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I naively thought, but I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Struck by the tone of his voice, I began rubbing his back in panic.
What?
Jared, it's okay. It's okay. I forgive you. You didn't do anything wrong. It was all your mom.
No.
I just sat there and let her say all that to you.
No, you stood up for me, remember? You told her right the heck off. I bet that felt good.
Jared wiped his face and sat up straight again, nodding. I bit my lip.
But... was what happened really okay?
My mother and I will probably never see eye to eye, but I think that's okay. He smiled sheepishly, taking my hand in his. Nah. Ever since meeting you, I've felt so free. I never believed that anyone would like me unless I lived up to what they wanted me to be. I thought the real me wouldn't be able to measure up. Then over time I realized I was kind of messed up. And I thought that even if someone could have liked the real me, they could never like the broken me. I tried to work with it and keep people at a distance, but to be frank, being with you has shown me that that's absolutely stupid. You and the rest of Normal Boots, yes, even Paul, care about me because of who I am, not who you expect me to be like. For as much as I've messed up, you've always gave me the benefit of the doubt. You liked me regardless of whether I messed up, regardless of whether I was perfect. Hana, thank you. I'm so sincerely thankful to have met someone as amazing as you.
I didn't really do anything.
It doesn't hurt that you're crazy hot either.
Jared!
I smacked him on the shoulder and he laughed. Then he reached out to hold my face in his hand. Okay, so we definitely got the best ending. You really are the most beautiful person, you know that?
Stop! I'm gonna melt! I'm going to cease to exist!
I think Hana's inherited some of his ham. Jared chuckled and drew my face to his. I barely had time to register what was happening before our lips met. In that moment, the only thing that existed for me was Jared. Even I didn't exist. Time stopped, my eyes closed. And then Jared pulled away. Sorry, I know you don't like PDA, but I couldn't help it this time. No, it was fine this time. Jared laughed again and pulled me to his side. I love you, Hana. That was it. I was done. I was dead. There was no more Hana to exist. KO. KO. Jared pecked me on the cheek as I tried to mumble out my response, the words getting caught in my mouth. Hearing my mumblings, Jared nuzzled my neck. Don't worry, Hana. I know. Indeed he does. Best end! Yeah! Okay, so this was a very, crazy route, I'd have to say. Very, I thought John's was a roller coaster. This one was, quite a bit more so, I think. We also learned a little bit more about Hana's mom in this route. And I have a theory about that, but I think I'll save it for another time, I think, to talk about that a bit more or something. Anyway, that was a crazy route. Yeah, definitely. Good one, surely. But, yeah. Well. This, weirdly enough, has also been the longest route that I've had so far. And that's... yeah. Sorry, I'm at a loss for words here. Basically, the lesson you take from this route is that relationships are very messy sometimes, but as long as you go into a relationship knowing that things can and will get messy, and as long as you learn more about yourself and learn about the other person as you have this relationship, you can definitely work it out. There's always a way to work it out. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are times when you would have to cut off a relationship, but at the same time, most of the time, these things can be fixed. You can like someone despite their differences. Overall, this was a good route. Let's see what the after credits have to give to us. Thanks for playing!
I'm sorry we won't get to spend more time with each other. I wanted to spend more time with you.
Yeah, that curfew is really annoying, but I can at least walk you back. I doubt I get in trouble for being a gentleman.
Oh, Jared, ever the prince.
All the best for my princess. He winked and I giggled again. Despite the fact that Jared still spoke the way he did, it didn't feel the same way. Gone was the weird feeling that he was standing on a stage, performing for an audience of thousands, instead of simply speaking to me. When we were alone, now it felt like we were well and truly alone. We held hands and we made it to the girls' dorm. Over time, we became less uptight about PDA, and Jared got better at understanding what was acceptable in public. We had a rocky start, but at some point we realized we both made assumptions about what being in a relationship should be like, what Jared should and shouldn't do for me, what a good girlfriend was and what she wasn't. We held these weird ideas to the light and found that, like opaque crystals, they blurred everything we did when we tried to look through them. After sorting things out, things got better. Of course, the truth was that things would never be truly perfect. We were very different people. Jared still had moments where he felt like he had a grand standard when he put on a face for others, even around me. His mother still hated my guts. She tolerated me enough to keep me around, but I was sure that if Jared and I continued to date for long enough, she'd look into finding a way to get rid of me. Preferably from the mob. Wait, what? And I still had trouble articulating my feelings to him and deciding what was something I should bring up and what wasn't. But for now, we were happy. We well and truly made each other happy. Here we are.
Yep, here we are.
I blushed, my hand touched the handle of my door.
I was not supposed to be back from practice for a bit. Do you want to come in?
Oh,
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Our faces as red as tomatoes. I pushed open my door and flicked on the light. Jared and I stood in the doorway, absolutely shocked. Mai patted her hair down nervously and PG grinned sheepishly from the floor. We were just, looking for aliens, right, Mai?
Bingo.
Yeah, we were summoning them. From the bedroom floor? Yeah, because there was like an enchanting circle and, dot. We're dating now.
Yeah.
I knew it. I so called it. Didn't I call it, Jared?
You did call it.
I called it.
And I called it. PG sheepishly rubbed the back of his neck, and Jared walked over and clapped him on the shoulder, giving him a thumbs up.
all right.
Good choice, my friend.
Thanks.
We should all go on a double date sometime. I smiled at Mai, who was watching PG and Jared have an intense whispered conversation. She was smiling stupidly, clear over the moon and stars. I pulled her into a hug.
I'm happy for you.
Took him long enough, right? Hey! We all laughed. I pulled out a copy of Permit to Ride, a board game of tiny plastic trains sprawling across a map of Europe, and the four of us played it all the way until curfew. This is my life in Asagao, and some days, I couldn't believe it. I had never been happier.
Thank you, everyone, for everything.
Asagao Academy, Normal Boots Club.
And Satch ends off this series with his lovely, sultry voice. Anyway, in case you enjoyed this route, or enjoyed this series or this video or whatever, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao.